Take the exit. Turn right into the drive-thru.
Nope, I'm making dinner tonight.
You don't have time. Josh has practice.
Oh, that's right. I'll just get a salad.
And fries?
No, just the salad.
But salad cancels fries.
Salad only.
Fries.
Salad.
Fries.
Food noise isn't fair, but Mochi Health is. The affordable GLP-1 source that puts you on the road to successful weight loss.
Hey, can I get the...
Fries.
Salad. Sorry.
Learn more at joinmochi.com. Mochi members have access to licensed physicians and nutritionists. Results may vary.
I'm here on the job site with Dale, who's a framing contractor.
Hey, good morning.
Dale traded up to Geico Commercial Auto Insurance for all his business vehicles. We're here where he needs us most.
Yep, they sure are.
We make it easy for him to save on all his insurance needs, all in one place, with coverage that fits his business and bottom line. Oh, I shouldn't have looked down.
It's all right.
We're so far up here.
Look at me. Take a deep breath.
No, I'm good. So good.
Get a commercial auto insurance quote today at geico.com and see how much you could save. It feels good to Geico.
Well, hello there, my friends, and welcome back. My name is Stephanie Safarian, and you're listening to episode 580 of Sustainable Minimalists. This is a listener-supported show about intentional and eco-friendly minimalist living. And on today's show, we're peeling back the layers of what I like to call the connection onion. Yes, the connection onion. Now, let's back up. If you've been listening to this show for a while, you've heard me give the same advice over and over again, haven't you? If you want peace, clear the clutter. That's step one. Pare down, buy less, learn to love living with less, embrace minimalism. I say it all the time. But what if the opposite of materialism is not necessarily minimalism? What if the real antidote to our more is more culture is actually connection? Now, if you've ever felt like you're drowning in noise and yearning for something real, my guest today argues that stuff is essentially noise in a different form. Getting rid of stuff reduces the noise, but getting rid of the stuff won't provide the realness that we're looking for. That realness comes through connection to nature, connection to other humans, even though I know it to be true. Human relationships are really darn messy. Connection to something bigger than us. And finally, connection with ourselves. Those are the layers of the connection onion. And here to help me break down exactly why reconnecting with these layers is so darn important is Suzanne Searcy Johnson. Suzanne is a two-time guest on the podcast. She's also a member of book club. So to my book club members, if this voice sounds familiar, it's none other than Suzanne. Suzanne has a new book and it's out now. It's titled Beyond Decluttering: 40 Days to Experiencing Simplicity Through Connection. And oh my goodness, Suzanne, I just love talking to you every chance I get, whether we're recording it or whether we're just, chit-chatting as friends. So happy to have you here. How are you?
I'm doing great, Stephanie. I love talking to you too. So this is really fun for me.
Well, let's remind listeners, you were on the show back in 2024. We talked about vital simplicity. That was the title of our episode 446. Listeners, it's linked in the show notes. Oh my gosh, it was one of my all-time favorite episodes, I must say. But that was almost 2 years ago now. So tell everybody who you are, what you do, and tell us specifically why you wrote a new book, Beyond Decluttering: 40 Days to Experiencing Simplicity Through Connection.
A lot has changed in the last 2 years. I became an empty nester this fall and moved into a tiny home in Texas. I was living in the Nashville area for 37 years and moved into a tiny home community in Austin, Texas. And over the last couple of years since the last book, Vital Simplicity, I have really paid attention, I guess, to how simplicity can't really be externally contrived. And that for us to, first of all, let me define simplicity the way that I see it. It's truly letting go of the things that get in the way of the life that we want. And it can be material things. We pare down our belongings to create that simplicity and free up our space and free up our energy and our time. But what I have seen over the last few years with me is the way that I truly cultivate that simplicity is through connection. And we'll talk about those 4 pillars of connection. But once I ironed out the methodology and from my own experience, my own life and what I've been through, I decided that it would be something that would be good to share because I've been sharing it with people individually and it lent itself to this book that just came out.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, Suzanne, but from what I know about you, it sounds like you've been on a journey. The journey started with simplifying. You've always, in your book, you've mentioned that you've always been predisposed towards simplifying aspects of your life. And that journey towards simplifying led you towards connection. And so I'm thinking that maybe some people listening right now might not understand the connection between
Right.
simplicity and connection. So can you make it a little bit clearer? Spell it out for us.
The 4 pillars of connection that I address in the book are nature, relationships, spirituality, and internal connection. And the way for me that they lead to simplicity is I'll just go through each one. So with nature, there are several ways that leads to simplicity. But for example, if I am connected to nature, if I'm truly getting outside, experiencing nature, appreciating this earth and what it has to offer, and I know that buying a lot of materialistic things affects this planet, not only in their production, but also in how they're disposed of later, then I'm going to be less inclined to buy things, a lot of excess things, which frees up time, money, energy. That simplifies my life, obviously. Also, one thing that I see with myself, I walk my neighborhood every evening, and there are times when even during the day, I'll be blocked either creatively or I'm struggling to make a decision. I get outside and walk and I get that clarity. It comes to me. And so again, that simplifies my decision making. So that's just the nature side of it. With relationships, going back to the consumerism piece that I just mentioned with nature, if I really care about other people, then I'm going to care about the sweatshop worker. And I'm going to care that my choices impact other people when it comes to my buying. And so that's going to simplify. Again, it's going to reduce my consumerism. Relationally, we know relationships can be challenging, but if I'm willing to really connect with other people, then it makes it easier for me to know how to show up in those relationships, show up authentically. Also, one thing I'm finding here, especially, is community. Being in relationship with my community here, we support each other. We're about to get really cold weather and we're not used to it in Austin. And everybody in the community is helping each other. Okay, this is what you need to do to protect your hot water heater. It's that support that we receive. And again, that makes my life simpler because I'm new here and they're helping me. Spirituality. If I am connected to a higher power, a source, God, whatever that looks like for me, then I have a peace. And everything is simpler and clearer when I have a peace. I have a rootedness that gives me clarity. Again, simplifies my life. And then finally, that internal peace, that's been huge for me, just recognizing the things that light my fire, what my passions are, being able to tap into that internal intuition that I think comes when all of these pieces come together. Then decision making is easier. My life is more joyful. My life is more peaceful. There's more clarity, all of those things. And they're all interconnected. It's not a 4 straight lines. It's like a spider web of they're all interconnected. But if I am disconnected, if I am isolated, then I don't get those benefits. I miss out on all of that.
That's so fascinating to me. I'm glad you brought up the disconnection part because that's where a lot of us are at these days. Isolated, we're in the midst of a loneliness epidemic, and disconnected. We're looking for shallow means of connection, perhaps on social media, perhaps by hyper-focusing on materialism. Advertising agencies have really inserted the buying of stuff as a perceived means to finding connection with the herd. If I buy this, I'll be like everybody else. I'll be connected. But that's not what actually happens, right? Buying the thing just ends up buying the thing. And so, yeah, most of us are very disconnected in 2026, and it takes an awful lot of effort to prioritize connection. What are some signs that we are disconnected? Because maybe we don't even know that we're disconnected. What are some signs that we're living a disconnected life?
one I think that comes to mind immediately is if I find myself mindlessly scrolling social media on a regular basis, then it's probably because I don't want to be in the real world right now. I am disconnected. If I'm reluctant, I might be in my home and thinking, oh, it'd be really good to go for a walk, but I just don't do it. I'm reluctant to do that. Another one is if I feel like I can't be myself with someone because I'm afraid of what they're going to think of me. That can really separate me, and that can show that I'm disconnected. Or if I just simply don't want to slow down. Slowing down makes me uncomfortable. It's probably because I'm spiritually disconnected or internally as well.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I think a lot of people stay busy on purpose, and maybe it's not even a conscious decision, but staying busy, staying frazzled, being a slave to the to-do list and the calendar keeps us from slowing down and doing some hard inner work. Who benefits when we're living disconnected and frazzled lives?
Certainly the billionaires who are making money off of us. It's definitely, if I've got something to sell, what am I going to do? I'm going to create a need, a perceived need. I'm going to create a problem that may or may not be there. Some of the problems are real and some of the solutions are real. But the shallow stuff is I'm going to tell you that you're not okay. I'm going to tell you that, let's just talk for my demographic, that gray hair is not okay. Wrinkles are not okay. You need to buy this face cream. You've got a problem that I can solve. And so come on over here and give me your money and I'm going to solve your problem. Instead of, if I'm in connection with people like I mentioned here, I feel welcomed exactly as I am. And I remember that. And then I look at other people and I think, I have grace for them. I can have grace for myself. But yes, absolutely. Whoever's selling you something is going to benefit from disconnection.
Well, I mean, I'm very cynical, but I do wonder whether the powers that be, the tech billionaires, the people who are pulling the strings, I don't even know who these people are, but are they enticing us towards disconnection and isolation on purpose? Are they separating us from each other, from nature, from spirituality, and from ourselves because that's what benefits them? I mean, that's a big question with probably not a straightforward answer, but I do find myself wondering, like, we are not the ones who are benefiting when we're disconnected and isolated. The people who are making money off that isolation, disconnection, discontent, they're benefiting. But let me back up and say your book really, you don't say this in the book, but I think of it as peeling back the layers of an onion. We're getting connected to things outside of ourselves as we slowly peel away the onion and get to what, in my personal opinion, is most important, which is reconnecting with ourselves, our inner selves. One of the first layers of the onion is reconnecting to nature. So what problems, you've already alluded to some of them, but what problems would reconnecting to nature, intentionally getting outside and like reconnecting with nature for real, not just once in a while when the weather's good, what problems would that solve for a lot of people?
There are so many things. One is health. Let's just start there. Health benefits. It's just proven. If you get outside in nature, and I'm not even talking exercising for the sake of exercising. I'm just talking about simple walks out in nature. There are heart benefits. Blood pressure gets better. There are studies that show that children focus better when they are out in nature. So it's the physical, the mental clarity. Those things just happen for us. If you don't believe it, next time you're stuck on a problem, take a 10-minute walk and see if it doesn't help. And you know what? If I'm improving my health and I have fewer times that I have to see the doctor, then yay, that's awesome. The mental, as I said. And then just for me, there's a peace that comes. There's a calming influence that nature has on me. And the way that I approach it is experientially. It's all 5 senses as much as I can. I want to see it. I want to smell it. I want to touch it. I want to hear the birds. I want to fully experience that as much as I can. It's not like I have earbuds in. No, I am walking, experiencing nature, and every now and then a neighbor will say, "Come into my house," as I walk by. And that moves into the relational piece. But I just say try it if you're unsure. See for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I am extraordinarily connected to nature these days. If there's a day where I'm not able to get outside for whatever reason, my life, my day is significantly dimmed. There's an environmental piece here too, right? If I am connected to nature, I want to do everything I can to protect it. I'm not going to be spraying the pesticides on my lawn. I'm going to be leaning into the wisdom of Mother Nature. Mother Nature is infinitely wise, much wiser than I could ever be. And, bringing this back to simplicity, what on earth is simpler than stepping back and letting Mother Nature do what Mother Nature has done for eons? What's simpler than not spraying your yard with pesticides I don't even know how often you have to do it. What's simpler than not raking your leaves because you want to provide a habitat for insects? What's simpler than stepping back, stepping out of something that really we know nothing about and just observing not just the beauty, but like observing in awe the quiet ways in which nature does nature's thing.
That's beautiful, Stephanie. Absolutely.
It really is awe-inspiring when we realize that Mother Nature, I'm thinking of my words as I'm talking, so I'm sorry it's not as eloquent as but like when humans step out of the equation, nature knows exactly what to do. And that to me is unbelievably awe-inspiring. So to that point, I'm skipping over relationships with other people. We'll come back to that. I do have to say that for me, being connected with the outdoors and nature makes me feel more spiritual. There's a spiritual element
Absolutely.
there. Can you speak on that?
Yes, absolutely. And we can talk about spirituality more in depth. I believe it's different for each person. But when I am in nature, and like you said, the awe, when I realize there's some type of creator here, that is the most awe-inspiring thing. And it helps me personally because right now I don't feel a foundation in this country right now. It feels very unsettled. And I can get wrapped around the axle in my brain, but then I can get out and I can experience nature and recognize that I don't know everything. I may think I know what's best. I may think I know what's right. I don't know everything, but I can be in awe of the one who does. And that's my belief, is that there is one who does. And so it helps me just breathe a little easier, and it helps me connect beyond what's right here in front of me in my home or in my work. It just brings me out of myself to see that there is more out there. So I absolutely agree with you. It is a spiritual experience. And I want to mention one thing, that not everyone is fortunate enough to be able to get out and walk. There are those who can't walk or whatever it happens to be. And that there are ways to experience nature without physically exercising. You can go outside and look up at the clouds and imagine the shapes we did as when we were children. I still do that. We can open a window and listen to the birds. We can grow herbs in our home and feel them and taste them. And so there are ways to experience nature beyond the physical going outside and walking and running or whatever, swimming, whatever it is that you do. I just wanted to make that point real quickly.
I like that. When my aunt was battling ovarian cancer and she was really unbelievably sick, she couldn't lift her head. She laid in bed all day. The way we helped her connect with nature in those days was we opened the window. Like, what's simpler than that? We let fresh air come into the room.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
The secret is out. With millions of younger-looking customers across the country, Plexiderm is one of the most highly sought-after products on the market. It visibly shrinks under-eye bags and smooths out crow's feet in minutes, and the effects last up to 10 hours. Influencers love it, magazines feature it, and people just can't get enough of it. As a matter of fact, Elle magazine gave it an Editor's Choice Award as Best Instant Wrinkle Filler for 2025. In as little as 10 minutes, Plexiderm reduces the appearance of fine lines, wrinkles, and those dreaded under-eye bags. So yes, you can look years younger in minutes, and the effects last for hours. No surgery, no gimmicks, just results. The best news, you can try Plexiderm for only $14.95. Plus, get free shipping. Don't wait. Order Plexiderm today. Visit plexiderm.com/special. That's plexiderm.com/special. Paid for by Sheer Science.
Some days that was exactly what she needed. Some days it did nothing, but some days it really did help. So I appreciate you saying that. There are ways to connect with nature that don't involve rock climbing, let's say, or doing something crazy outdoors, going to visit a national park, let's say. We can open a window. Let's take another step towards connection by talking about relationships with other people, relationships with the person who works at the post office, relationships with our closest family members, and everyone in between. I mentioned earlier, we're in the midst of a loneliness epidemic. The consequences of loneliness are real and tangible. And yet, having relationships, especially the deep ones, is hard. Relationships are messy, and interpersonal dynamics are difficult for even the most adept among us to navigate. Tell us, tell me, why should we be still focusing on relationships even though they're hard and even though sometimes people really just annoy the heck out of me?
Because if you connect with them, that piece gets easier. Bottom line, what you're describing becomes less and less the focal point of the relationship. And I'll speak to a couple of things and take what you will. When I am in relationship with other people, when I put down the phone, when I look them in the eye, and when I'm honest with them, then it does simplify that relationship. It clarifies, first of all, sometimes the relationship isn't meant to be a long-term one. I might have a conversation with someone and recognize that they're not really meant to be in my life. And that can be challenging, but then later will simplify life. More often than not, however, it's that I get to know them on a deeper level and I begin to understand their motivations, and I don't try to convince them of anything. It's just a deeper level of connecting. I guess the way the connection piece simplifies is it provides a lot of clarity. But then it also, I believe we are meant to be in connection with other people. We are not meant to be alone and isolated. And I tend to be an introvert, but if I've learned anything these last months in this tiny home community, it's that it is life-giving to be in a community, to feel supported. The other day I had made a batch of soup and I put some of it in a jar to take to my next door neighbor, and I walked out onto my porch and saw that he had left me a container of soup. that that makes life better and simpler and fuller. So I do acknowledge there are challenges in relationships, but I tell you what, if I brace for things with other people, we know that when we brace for something, our decision making, it freezes up. It's flight or fight. And the part of our brain that can figure things out gets shut off. And if I come with an open heart and an open mind, then it makes it so much easier to navigate.
Yeah. My oldest friend, so she's my oldest friend. We've been friends since we were 15. She recently came back up to New England for a visit. She doesn't live here any longer. And so every couple of years when she's in the area, we go out to lunch. And, we had this date on the calendar, and the little devil on my shoulder was saying, "Oh, you don't want to go drive an hour. Oh, you don't want to put on real clothes. I don't even know what my problem was." But I was like, I'm not going to cancel on her. She's my oldest friend. I'm going to see her. And we spent an afternoon just having lunch, catching up. And you know what? Like, that lunch date buoyed me for the week afterwards. I felt so connected, but it's more than connection. I felt seen. And when you feel seen, when you feel cared for, it makes all the other aspects of life, all the other stresses, more manageable somehow, at least for me. Do you have that feeling?
Yes. In fact, I say often, people just want to be seen. They just do. And I can see you and not agree with you. But if I can acknowledge that what you're feeling is real to you, that validates who you are. And so I think now we think that we're supposed to agree on everything. And my favorite thing my father used to say, my dad had a lot of great sayings, but my favorite one was, if two people agree on absolutely everything, then one of them is unnecessary. I don't have to agree with you on everything. I can find the commonality and let's go from there. Let's start there. But I do agree that people, especially now, we're all, it feels like this society, whatever, we're fighting for something. We're fighting to be recognized or something. And that is nothing new. I will say that came up in Charles Wagner's book in 1895, that we all want to be seen. It's a timeless theme. We want to know that someone else gets us. And so why don't we spend the time trying to get people and let them know they're seen?
I really appreciate, Suzanne, that you said we don't have to agree with everybody on everything in order to have a connection with them. We are living in such a hyper polarized moment in history. It's easy to put people in tribes and say, oh, they're not for me. Oh, they're whatever. They're this, they're that. I had a guest on recently, Elsie Gilmore. The episode was about sticking it to capitalism. And she said, again, too, when we're too busy fighting with our neighbor about their political ideologies, we're expending energy, essentially, that we could be putting to combating the real issues that our nation is facing at the moment. Our neighbors are not our enemies, despite what some leaders want us to believe. And I really have been sitting with that and thinking about that. If a catastrophe happened tomorrow, if an environmental catastrophe, a political catastrophe between countries happened tomorrow, it's your neighbors that you're going to lean on, and vice versa. This is a whole other topic for a whole other day, but it's on each of us right now to stitch back together our communities. It's on us to reconnect, not just with our neighbors, but anybody who means anything to us, that and those relationships that we've put to the wayside.
I feel a change coming. I don't know if you feel it too, but I feel it not from the top down. I feel it in the communities. People are starting to get to know their neighbor. People are starting to want change. And so I guess time will tell if I'm right about that. But I do feel like we are starting to care more. We've had this social media boom where we've had pseudo connections or parasocial relationships, if you will. And now we're like, okay, now I want the real thing again. I want to come back to. And that's part of what I say about simplicity too. It's not what you remove, it's what you return to. And we are returning to those true relationships.
I so hope so. And I wonder if it's because we've done the online superficial relationships thing. And I'll be honest, in the early days of the internet, wow, that was amazing. Connection was tangible in my life. The internet became a thing when I was in high school. And I did find connection with people that I wouldn't have ordinarily connected with back then. But since then, the internet has morphed into this AI slop creating, influencer driven hellscape, in my opinion. There's no real connection. It's devolved, just like most things devolve under capitalism. So I'm hoping that you're right and people are seeing that the connection that's happening online is not the genuine connection that you and I are talking about today. And so then the question becomes, where are we going to get the genuine connection that we need evolutionarily as a species? We are a connected species. Where are we going to get it? I'm hoping we we get it in our own communities. That will strengthen our communities, strengthen the amount of joy that we experience in our lives. So we'll see, fingers crossed. But we know we have to go to the inside of that onion, Suzanne, and we have to talk about what might arguably the hardest thing to connect with, which is ourselves. Connecting with ourselves is about forgiving ourselves, giving ourselves grace, loving ourselves despite our flaws. Why is doing that work, making the time to connect with ourselves so darn important, in your opinion?
Because without it, I'm blocked off from that intuition. I don't know what really matters to me. I don't know my purpose. I don't know how to show up for other people. And it's hard. It's hard to look objectively at these are the mistakes that I've made, and here are the steps I'm going to take to make that right. It's hard for me to look at even the positive things like, oh, I have these abilities, because that voice says, why haven't you been doing anything with those abilities? We have a lot of self-criticism. And part of the reason for the order that I look at, we start with nature, we go to relationships, the spiritual, and then internal, and then integration of all of those, because as I said, they overlap. Part of the reason for looking at relationships before that is I think most of us, in my experience, most of us can have grace for other people before we can have grace for ourselves. Now, that's not always the case, but like I said, with the women I talk to, most of us, that's how we feel. And so we can learn to have grace for other people, and then we can look inside and go, guess what? I'm human too. I'm going to make mistakes, and it's okay. I'm just going to go make them right, and that's fine. And then once I'm able to really look at that and do that, then I can go deeper into, you know what? I'm not a bad person. These are the good qualities about me. These are the things that I want to foster and nurture. And here's how I can show up for other people. And here's my purpose. And my purpose isn't about being the biggest or the best or the, whatever. It's about being authentically me and also showing up for other people. So that's how, to me, I think it's hard to do, and yet it's so critical to get in, like you say, that analogy, get inside that onion.
I liked something you said there. You said when we're not connected to ourselves, we've blocked our own intuition. I'm not saying that exactly how you said it, but I think that was the gist. How do you think the world would be different if we all unblocked our intuition, we were able to hear the voice, and we operated through a place of listening to that voice, going with our gut? How would the world be different if we were all doing that regularly?
Wow, I can't even fathom. Can you? I think I'd like to ask you that question. No, I do think relationally, obviously, we would be more in sync. But again, we're not meant to be carbon copies. Otherwise, there's no innovation. But I do think definitely there would be more creativity. If I can listen to that intuition, then I am, as I'm saying it, I'm breathing. I'm deep breathing. It just naturally happens. Think about it like it's, oh, yeah, I'm in tune with who I am. I'm confident in who I am. I'm not arrogant. I just know what I'm here for. I know what I'm to do. Like when I moved here, I had been looking at tiny homes for years and years, and my sister had found this place in Austin, and all the stuff leading up to it took a long time. But when I was about to become an empty nester and I revisited it, it was a quick decision because I knew I could rely on that intuition. I do take counsel from other people, but I am not of a mind that I'm going to go ask 10 different people their opinion, just trying to get to somebody who agrees with me, you know? I think the world would be, it would be a cleaner, more clarity in what we do.
Yeah. I'm going to answer my own question. I'm just thinking out loud. If we were all in tune with our intuition and we acted in a way that felt aligned with what that inner voice was saying, I think we would be a lot gentler on the planet. I think we would be a lot gentler with other people. I think advertising would not have as much of a sway. We'd just be a lot less swayable. And when I say that, I mean we'd be less influenced. And I think a lot of the problems that we're seeing in the world today are due to the fact that we're easily influenced.
Absolutely. Yeah, good answer. I like your answer better than mine.
No, your answer is great as well. I'm just thinking out loud. But then there comes the problem that sitting with yourself, getting to know yourself, learning to love yourself, learning to forgive yourself for past mistakes, that's not a straight road. That's a windy, difficult road. And first of all, the world is full of distractions. But second of all, many of us latch on to those distractions in the world as a means of distracting ourselves from doing the hard work of reconnecting with ourselves. Like we look to the distractions so that we don't have to sit with ourselves. I did that for a long time. It's painful to get to know thyself. It's a journey and it's a beautiful journey, but it can be painful as well. So what would you say to those people listening?
That I've been there. I experienced that. And it's not like all roses now either. But I went through a very difficult time of looking at my choices, dealing with the pain that I caused other people, recognizing that I had used, in my case, I had used alcohol to keep me distracted so that I didn't have to deal with all of that. And so it was through recovery that I found, oh, guess what? I'm not alone. I'm not the only person who's ever felt this. I'm not the only person who's used something, whether it be alcohol, shopping, relationships. It can be anything. It can be Netflix. I'm not the only person who's used these distractions to avoid looking inside. And so then I went through the long process of just facing it. And I think for me, it was because we talked about simplicity in all those years. I had done all the organizing. I had the lovely bins with the beautiful labels and everything was organized. And I had done that as an attempt to control and to avoid dealing with what was going on inside. Once I found that my environment was controlled, I found that I still was unsettled. And so I had to do more. And it's that internal look. It takes what it takes. It's hard. And yet the freedom, oh my gosh, Stephanie, the freedom when we're able to look internally, and we don't have to have an addiction to do that. Every one of us can take the time to look and recognize that we are human. We are going to make mistakes, but it's the action I take to rectify those mistakes that gives me that self-esteem that I'm looking for.
That's beautiful. And I thank you for sharing a bit of your story there. I know that'll help a lot of people who are listening to us talk.
Thank you.
So let's talk about your book. It's out now. It's titled Beyond Decluttering, 40 Days to Experiencing Simplicity Through Connection. What a book, Suzanne. I love a book that leaves me with tangible things to do, because at the end of the day, I am a doer. Tell us about the book and more specifically where we can find it.
Yes, so it is out now. Just January 13th was the day that it came out. And I will give you links, but if you go to my website, SuzanneCerseiJohnson.com, you'll see that there's a books tab that has all of my books listed. It's there and you can access it there. And also I will mention that on the resources page, again, I'll give you a link, that there are freebies that you can download. And one of them is 7 signs that you're disconnected and what to do about it. So if you're listening to this and thinking, I'm somewhat connected, but maybe you might want to download that, take a look at it and see if it resonates with you.
Suzanne, thank you so much for coming on the show. I said at the beginning, we're friends now. So I just love every opportunity to talk to you. And I thank you so much for putting this amazing book into the world. Thank you.
Thank you. I just love spending time with you, Stephanie. So I really appreciate it.
Listeners, that's a wrap. My friends, show notes are at MamaMinimalist.com/580. And one quick little reminder before we wrap up today, book club, March 2nd, 7 p.m. We are reading the book called Awe. I just read it and it is pretty darn good. The link to the book name and everything you need about book club is in this week's show notes. Would love to have you join us. If you've never joined before, don't be scared. We're a really fun, happy little group. No pressure. We will be back next week where we are discussing the commercialization of minimalism. How is it that our culture has taken a centuries-old tradition, which of course is minimalism, living better with less, and commodified it? Well, somehow our culture did it. Now we have the minimalist aesthetic in which we throw everything out and buy new stuff. We're talking about the commodification of minimalism and how we can help ensure that the form of minimalism that we're practicing, you and me, goes a little bit deeper, let's say, than simple aesthetic. So that's next week. I will see you then. Reach out if you need me, and take care.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.